I the a-hole for supporting my son and wanting to go non-contact with my soon-to-be ex-wife? So this is a pretty simple one, I think. My wife, 39 female, and I, 39 male, are going through an admittedly pretty messy divorce. I thought everything was fine with our relationship until my son, 14 male, told me that he walked in on her cheating on me with our next-door neighbor's son, 20-ish, I think, and that it's been going on for a year now. Obviously, I do the expected thing and move out and file for divorce, since she'll probably end up with a house. The thing is, my son wanted to come with me. I made him stay with her till I got a place lined up, but ever since he's been living with me and is refusing to spend time with her or even speak with her. The entire time I've been supportive of this. She's come as far as I'm concerned, and I don't see why I should try to convince him otherwise. Custody came up in a divorce. We're both requesting primary, and when it came to asking my son what he wanted, he said that he didn't want anything to do with my wife. Ever since then, my wife has been plastering all over social media that I've been poisoning him against her, which is causing a lot of other family members and others I know to get on my case about it. While I wouldn't say that I've been poisoning him, I haven't exactly been trying to get him to think better of her, which is what some of my family members and friends are angry at me for doing. My sister especially has been on my case about it. She tells me that I should be telling my son off whenever he expresses how he feels about his mother and that I should be encouraging him to sort things out with her and to see things from her perspective. While I understand that this is something that would help him get some form of a relationship back with her, I honestly don't see how it's my place to do that. My wife cheated on me for a college kid and threw me and our son away for it. I don't get why I should be helping her to get away with this regarding our son and his feelings about the situation. My sister and everyone else I've shared my thoughts with are calling me a major a-hole for it. So I'd like to see if others who don't know either of us agree with them or whether or not it's just a microcosm of our social group and family. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. He's old enough to make that decision for himself. You're just supporting and enabling him to make that decision. Just be aware of the influence you have when you talk about her with him. Not the a-hole. OP, what your wife did was hideous and your son witnessed it himself. So you were not poisoning his mind. His mom did that all by herself. But your child definitely needs therapy, and I think it would help you too to get into therapy yourself. As for the family members who are blaming you, tell them to mind their business or you will cut contact with them too. I personally am not in favor of social media's smear campaigns as it does more harm than good and can easily get out of hand. So block and ignore your ex. Other than that, try your best to get full custody of your son and don't pressure your son to start having a relationship with his mom again. He can do that if he wants to down the road. I will say this though, before the exodus, I definitely hit one of her posts up complaining about OP poisoning her son against her with a... Well, actually, OP's wife was caught by son smashing 20-year-old neighbor and then came to his own conclusion about the value of his mother and then screenshot. Post to Reddit for karma and wait for her to block you while having the solace that 50% of the people that interacted with that post now knows the facts. Oh, and not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry your wife did that to you. But I'm 100 in supporting of kids deciding whether they want to put themselves in that situation. So long as you make sure your son knows you would facilitate any contact he wants with the ex-wife in the future, you're doing the best for him. Obviously, don't talk bad about her to him, etc. But he's old enough now to make decisions, and if he doesn't want contact, I think it's fair to respect that. For context, my 14-year-old just moved back to me after 5 years with her dad. At that time, she was mistreated, gaslighted, poisoned against me, and I had no contact with her. Eventually, she came to see me and saw how much she'd lied to her and how bad things were there. She's now with me and under police advisory to not talk to him or have anything to do with her dad. And I've been advised from professionals that you shouldn't and can't really ever force a child to have contact with a parent or to not contact them. It only serves to damage them emotionally in the long run. Trust your son. He needs to heal from this too. Continue to be supportive to him at any future relationship with his mom and you'll be okay. I felt like I was reading a post made by my family member because I'm experiencing the exact same situation from your son's point of view. Not the a-hole. He's old enough to form his own opinions and make up his mind. My advice would be to not discuss it unless he wants to talk about the situation, because if you continuously bring it up, your family member's ex-wife will claim to be justified in you poisoning him. Similar with me, though I discovered my dad was cheating when I was 21, so I was in college and not living at home full-time, and got married less than a year later and moved out permanently. My mom constantly, even 4 years later after their divorce has been finalized, complains about my dad to me, and it's very hard to deal with. And every time I tell her I don't want to talk about it, she gets upset with me. I still love my dad as my dad, so it's hard to hear her complaints. I think it's important for the dad in this situation to do his best not to poison his son's opinion of his mom because while she was awful in cheating and OP, she is still his son's mom. A person can be an awful partner and still a good parent, and therapy should definitely be required. But in the end, it's still the son's decision, and I don't blame him for being betrayed by his mother and not wanting to see her. Not stay home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to see my dad because of my stepmother's racist comments? I'm 16 female and half white, half Chinese. My parents have been split up for a while, so I'm mostly over it. They're a lot happier without each other, so while it sucked, it's fine. It's weird sometimes when I'm with my dad, people assume I'm adopted, but usually he's good at correcting people, except for my stepmom. I really did try to like her in the beginning, but she's kind of racist. The first time I met her, she wouldn't stop touching and commenting on my hair and how I looked like a K-pop star. It just got worse the longer they were together. She would do things like tell people she was my tiger mom, and make comments about my body type and plastic surgery. And when she moved in, she had my dad ask me to only speak English in the house and watch English shows because it made her uncomfortable if she couldn't understand what was being said. When they got married, she kinda sneakily left me out of the wedding photos. And when I asked why, she said she wanted a certain aesthetic, which I guess is a nice way of saying white. I've talked to my dad about it a lot and he says he'll talk to her, but he never does. And also that she just doesn't have a lot of familiarity with Asian people. So I have to be patient with her because she's learning. My mom and stepdad were really angry about how she treats me, but they can't exactly do anything about my stepmom. So they just said that if I ever feel like I need to leave, I can call either of them at any time and they'll come get me. It really hit the fan a couple of weeks ago. My stepmom is pregnant and had her baby shower, and I heard her make a comment about how I don't look very much like my dad. So now he'll also have a kid that resembles him, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I called my mom to come pick me up and left. My dad called me a few hours later and I told him what his wife said, and he said he would talk to her, but I told him he always says that and nothing changes. So I'm not coming over to his house anymore, and maybe he should stick with his white family. Stepmother texted me to apologize, but I told her it wasn't accepted and I don't want to talk to her anymore. My mom and stepdad and my grandparents on the side support me, but my dad is really upset, and my grandparents on my dad's side are really mad at me, and people have been telling me that even if my stepmom is being a pill, I shouldn't write off my dad because he's not the one doing it. I love my dad, but I just don't want to see his wife again. And if that means I don't see my dad too because he won't stand up to her, maybe that's how it needs to be. Not stay home. Your racist stepmom is, and so is your racist dad. Your dad supporting her beliefs make him racist too? You don't deserve to be treated like that just because you don't meet their aesthetic. I know, right? That's messed up. Opie's future sibling will probably ask in the future, why is Opie not in the wedding pictures? Opie's stepmom be like, because she's not part of the aesthetics. WTF? You mean because she's not white, really? That's what it is. Not stay home. Cut these people from your life completely. If your father does nothing to stop the stepmother, he condones it. He married her knowing her views, which makes him racist. He married her knowing she was awful to his daughter, which makes him a failure as a father. Opie needs to keep herself emotionally safe from her loser bigot dad. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my significant other that his daughter cannot come over to our new house until we meet up again? Me, 26 female, and my significant other, 32 male, have been together for 5 years. And he has 2 children with his ex, Anna, 31 female. They have Leo, 8 male, and Leia, 14 female together. Me and my significant other decided to wait until we were dating for 1 year for me to meet his children. We met up for lunch at a local restaurant, and while Leo liked me, Leia didn't speak a word. I assumed she was not ready to warm up to me just yet. After that, we scaled back to brief video calls where she wouldn't say anything. This went on for another 6 months, and then me and my significant other moved in together. Leo came every other week for visits for the first month, and Leia never came. She told significant other she didn't want to be around me, so she wasn't going to come for visitation. So my significant other did visitation at his sister's house. This worked out okay. It was just awkward because the sister lives 5 minutes away from our old apartment, and the kids lived 20 minutes away from us. So it was a lot of driving back and forth. This has been the arrangement for years. The entire time, I've been inviting Leia out, through my significant other, with us to get to know her better. We go out at least 4 to 5 times per month and do various activities. Parks, museums, zoo, malls, go-karts, restaurants, everything. Leo tags along sometimes, but Leia's never come. March 1st, I closed on my dream apartment. 3 beds, 2.5 baths, study, huge balcony. It's gorgeous. We've moved in and I'm so excited to start making our home here. I posted a video on social media and Anna's seen it and showed Leia. Anna blew up my significant other's phone asking him when he was going to tell Leia that he moved. He did tell Leia, and she said, "Oh, okay." After Leia seen our new home, she asked significant other when she would be able to come over and decorate her new room. I told him under no circumstances will Leia be allowed into her new room until she agrees to meet us outside for an outing. I love her because she's my partner's daughter, but I don't know her. I've only ever heard her voice in videos she posts to social media. She has never spoken a word to me. My significant other is incredibly sad because he just wants his daughter to visit him again, but he agrees with me. Anna and Leia obviously disagree, and so does my in-laws. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Everyone sucks here. For the past 5 years, everybody has agreed to let a child, she was 9 at the beginning, decide if/when/where she wanted to see her father. Also, if you bought that apartment with your significant other, his daughter has every right to come whenever she wants, as it is also her home. The adults need to do better by that child. I actually agree with this. My significant other has allowed the situation to drag out for 4 years, and it's unfair to all of us. He allowed a child to dictate the terms of their relationship. 4 years of family events where he had to exclude me because she wouldn't come if I was there. 4 years of living a double life to keep us separated. I purchased that apartment with my own money. I made sure to include a private bedroom for her when she was ready to come around. I'm assuming she's ready now, but she is saying she absolutely does not want to go out for dinner or an activity. She just wants to decorate and start coming over. She wants a relationship with her father, not with you. That's her right. The more you're going to push, the more she's going to run. Is it going to suck for you? Yes, but you made a choice to move in with him knowing he had a daughter who wanted nothing to do with you. You either accept that or tell your significant other to find another place to live. Cool, that's her right. She can have that relationship at his sister's then because her apartment isn't his apartment. It has got no right to demand a room for the kid. Yep, the bio parents have had 5 years to establish a relationship and set boundaries that would let Opie get to know the 14-year-old at least enough that the 14-year-old would already have their space in the apartment. The 14-year-old made her choice, and now she's learning that what she does or doesn't do may have unforeseen consequences. Opie has every right not to have a stranger in her home. All she's asking for is an outing to get to know the girl. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for how I'm treating my daughter? My daughter, 32 female, and I, 69 female, are very close. We used to live in the southern part of the US. I divorced her father when she was 13, and then she made a decision to cut him out of her life. So it's pretty much been just the two of us ever since. About 9 years ago, she chose to move up to the East Coast to look for work after her college graduation. I was supportive and happy when she found something. About 5 years ago, my mom died, so I had no family left in the South. I wanted to move, and it was either move to the East Coast to be near my daughter or move out west to be near my brother and his partner. My daughter said, "If you want to move up here, I'm fine with it. But don't do it just for me, because I'm not attached to this area, so who knows if I'll stay." I said I understood, but decided to move there anyway. I purchased a condo in the same town and have lived here ever since. About 2 years ago, my daughter needed to move out of her apartment because of some issues with her neighbors, and it just so happened that the condo next door to mine became available to rent. The rent was too good for her to pass up, so she moved in. I love that we live so close. Anyway, about 8 months ago, she started dating a man from a town about an hour away. They are planning on her moving in with him, since he owns his house, which means she will be about an hour away from me. I'm happy for her, and I like her boyfriend, but I'm not going to lie that I'm a little sad about her moving. Anyway, for the last few months, she has become very short with me on a lot of topics. Like, I ask her if her boyfriend is okay with the state of cleanliness that her condo is. I don't think she cleans it well enough. It will be fine with his home being like that. She just blankly stares at me and bluntly says, "Yes, he's been to my place and knows what it looks like." Or when I ask if she was going to start making herself look pretty for the day once she has him around all the time. She works from home and he does for part of the week too. She, again, just stared at me and bluntly said, "He knows what I look like, so I'm fine." The other issue is that his parents live in the same town as him and the two of them see them all of the time for dinners and such, a lot more than they see me. I guess some of my jealousy shows in my face, because she has commented on it several times, but I just act like everything is fine. All in all, she's making me feel like I'm treating her badly recently, but being so short with me, and I'm afraid that I'm not ever going to see her after she moves. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. I don't know if this is specifically a Southern thing or if it extends to more cultures, but comments like you're making to your daughter made me incredibly insecure. If I didn't clean enough, I wasn't lovable. If I didn't do my makeup, I wasn't pretty. So my natural face wasn't pretty. You're making these comments to make her feel less secure in her relationship. Whether you're doing it consciously or not, the result is the same. You are undermining her self-confidence. And yes, you're probably going to lose your close bond. No one wants to be around someone who makes them feel self-conscious. No one wants to be around someone who makes them feel unlovable. Texan here. When I was in college, my boyfriend and I evacuated to my grandparents' ranch following a hurricane. I was an evacuee. I was on a ranch. I wasn't wearing makeup or dressing up, but that's not any different from any other time on the ranch. My granny told me I had let myself go, presumably because the boyfriend would see me at my worst since it was never a problem prior. Ranch kid here. Well, it's a good thing she can cook. Said at the end of a muddy, bloody day of me working kettle. Thanks, Pops. You just undermined pretty much all of the fears and dependence you instilled in me. All for a laugh from the menfolk. Am I the a-hole for saying that it's my sister's fault her husband is divorcing her? My 27 female sister, 32 female, is currently in the process of a divorce started by her husband, 40 male. They were married for a total of 2 years. The problem started with brother-in-law wanting his own biological kids. I'll explain later. And my sister not wanting them. She was always against having kids, but the moment they started seeing each other, she started making certain changes about herself. He had a courtesy of telling her quite early where he wanted the relationship to go, and my sister at that point went from no to maybe to one day, and then yes. They got married. But maybe the realization finally hit her when we went to meet our cousin who had given birth. Yes, a new mother's body is not exactly the epitome of sexy because pregnancy does things to a mother's body. I could tell sister was detracting. And it was still early in the marriage when I asked her to reconsider and end the marriage now before it's too late. She was adamant that she wanted a child, but I could tell she was flaky. She never talked to me, but she would talk to our mother, and I would hear from her how brother-in-law was still going on about wanting a child, but she's not feeling like wanting a child anymore. Oh boy. A month ago, brother-in-law reached his limit and finally asked sister to be upfront, and she straight up told him she does not want to be a mother and started offering alternatives like adoption. Brother-in-law did not want to hear any of that, and sister came to live with us. As to why brother-in-law wants biological children, He was previously married and has 2 children. Then he found out that neither of them are biologically his. He pays child support but does not see the kids anymore. Understandable. Sister also knew this, but maybe love blinds people. She is here bawling her eyes out because brother-in-law started the divorce proceedings and does not want any sort of compromise. Parents have been giving brother-in-law crap for days now, and so is sister now about how stubborn he is, and wish she could see it before. It got annoying to a point where I told her that it was her fault that she was not ready, lied to him, and now expect him to accommodate, fully knowing his side, and that her foolishness impacted the life of 2 people. Now they're angry at me for taking his side. Am I the a-hole? If so, what can I do to make it right? I'm not going to retract my words because they're exactly what she did. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She lied to her husband by pulling a bait and switch on him. That's really shady. She's getting what she deserves for doing that and just can't accept that. All you did was tell her the truth. These aren't the type of things you can just change your mind on when you marry someone, at least without consequence. She needs to commit one way or another because waffling on something as high gravity as this will doom her relationships to failure now and in the future. Props to you, Opie, for giving your sister a hard dose of reality. Did she pull a bait and switch, or did the reality hit her that she didn't want to go through pregnancy? Yes, that is possible. But she still didn't tell her husband that she had changed her mind. He had to confront her to even get her to tell the truth. Everyone sucks here except brother-in-law. This is a deal breaker for him. Ed is making the right choice. Compromise either way would only breed resentment and ruin what's left of their marriage. It's better and more responsible to cut it off now so they can find people who are fundamentally more compatible. Your sister definitely should have been honest. This is a situation of her own making because she tried, out of love, to want something she does not want. However, you didn't need to say that. You didn't need to rub salt in her wounds, and you've done her no favors for it. Your parents need to stop blaming brother-in-law. She doesn't need to forgo biological children just because she doesn't want them. He's not wrong for making this choice. He'd only be wrong if he tried to force her into pregnancy after she'd outright said no. He didn't. She made herself clear, so he left. That's unfortunate, but that's all it is. Real, true support does not come from blasting the other person for the things they want for themselves. Less focus on him, more on her. And you learn to read a room. Tact is a valuable resource, and given that this is a sensitive subject, you should take your hints from that and be sensitive. There's nothing at all to be accomplished from telling her truths like that. You should apologize. Not because you stated something untrue, but because you were unwittingly or otherwise cruel to a family member who is already suffering. That was very well put. I agree with everyone sucks here. Unless you were directly asked for your opinion, Opie, then what you have done is kicked someone while they were down. You don't have to lie to her, but you don't have to wield the truth like a hammer either. She will get plenty of that in the divorce proceedings. Info. How do you know that your sister wasn't lying to herself and telling her husband what she believed was true at the time? Given what you have said about her freaking out about what pregnancy does to a woman's body and suggesting adoption, it sounds like your sister is opposed to giving birth, not to having children, and maybe she initially thought she could push past that fear for something she wanted with her husband. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister her being a stay-at-home mom is a joke and she's just selfish? I want to make it clear I'm not slagging off being a stay-at-home mom, just my sister's version of it. I know how much hard work it is and I'm not putting anyone down for it. But my sister really does just sit around doing nothing all day, while somebody else does all the work, and then whines about how hard it is being a stay-at-home mom, and I've had enough of it. My sister Carol, 26 female, and I, 24 female, have always been polar opposites, so we do clash in quite a few things, but generally we are close. She has 2 kids, Rose 6 female and Ty 7 male, and I have a son Oz 2, and they're really close. Carol has always been a stay-at-home mom ever since she left school, and never had a job, whereas I've always been career-driven. My job's hours can be long and irregular, but I love it. Though if ever say I'm tired or I've had a hard day, Carol has to one-up me and say how she's even more tired or has had an even harder day because she's a stay-at-home mom, so works 24/7. The thing is, All the things a stay-at-home mom does, she doesn't. Both kids are in school, and her husband Dan is the one that gets them ready, helps with homework, cooks all the meals. They have a cleaner. And Carol doesn't drive, so my mom picks kids up from school and looks after them till Dan gets home from work. Most weekends, Dan will bring the kids over to me. I live a 10-minute walk away, so Carol can have a break. So I don't have much sympathy for her, but most of the time I just let it go. But last week was half term. I was able to get most of the week off, but on Friday there was an emergency at work, so I needed to go in immediately. My husband was away, and my nanny and babysitter were busy, so I asked Mom if she could look after Oz as I had to go into work urgently, but she couldn't as she was looking after Rose. I asked where Carol was, and Mom told me she was at home but was feeling tired, so needed rest. I said that she could bring Rose over, but she couldn't as Rose had friends over for a playdate. But I took Oz and rushed over to Carol's house to beg Mom to take him. While I'm talking to Mom, Carol came down. I explained the situation, but she said that as Rose has friends over, it would be inappropriate for Oz to be there. So I asked why Mom couldn't take Oz back home for a few hours and Carol watched the girls. Carol seemed offended by the suggestion that she should look after her own child herself. And I had about had enough and knew this was just wasting time when I had to get to work. So I said, well, thanks for nothing, and left and took Oz to work with me. It worked out fine, but I was pissed with Carol. So today I went over to Carol's. I wanted to put the situation behind us and move on, but she brought it up. She said she was waiting for an apology from me. When I left, she told me I just don't get how hard being a stay-at-home mom is. I told her she doesn't even know what a hard job is, and that the fact she calls herself a stay-at-home mom is a joke, and that she's just lazy and selfish. I left and she told me that I'm not welcome back. Not at AITA. As a stay-at-home mom myself, I do know how hard it is, but I have also worked a full-time job. Neither is easier than the other, and it sounds like the real problem is she's selfish and lazy, not with her workload. Not at AITA. She's the worst. Also, why on earth would it be inappropriate to have friends over and a cousin? Yes, every one of my niece's birthdays was super inappropriate because she had friends over and her cousins. That's so annoying. Being a stay-at-home mom is so much work, but only if you actually work. She said that he would interfere with her game, and the girls were there to play with Rose, not a 2-year-old they didn't know. To be honest, I really didn't know what she was on about either. I think it was just an excuse to not have Oscar. Just for clarification, your mom has time to babysit your sister's kids, but absolutely cannot do so for you in the middle of an emergency. Really? We are not focusing enough on how unfair and enabling your mom is being. It isn't the first time my mom chose to babysit for my sister instead of me, when I asked first, so I stopped asking her. But I was desperate this time, so I went for my last resort. Next story. Am I the a-hole for confronting my sister's girlfriend upon being accused of not caring about their baby? My wife, 35 female, and me, 34 male, have been married for over 8 years and have been trying to have a kid forever. We have suffered 3 miscarriages in the process, the most recent one being over 2 weeks ago. Now, my sister Ashley, name changed, left her abusive prick of a husband over a year ago. It has been in a relationship with another woman, Brenda, name changed, for 8 months now. Over 2 months ago, Ashley gave birth to a baby girl. She came as a source of joy for all of us, considering that my wife was pregnant at the time too. However, around 2 weeks ago, my wife and I suffered our 3rd miscarriage. This was around the same time that Ashley began to behave strangely. She was constantly depressed, irritable, and weepy, and often attempted to drive the conversation away from her child and babies in general. These symptoms were there before too, but this was when they really began to come to light. It was then that she was diagnosed with PPD. Around 2 days ago, I decided to take my wife on a road trip to visit her parents to take her mind away from the miscarriage for a while. While we were packing for the trip, Brenda paid us a visit and asked us if we could help take care of the baby, as she wanted some quality time with Ashley. I knew that it would not do good for my wife's mental state to be around a baby right now, as it would trigger a lot of emotions. I kindly refused, and told Brenda that we were visiting her parents and we would not be available for a while. This really angered Brenda, and she began to call me out for being a selfish brother. She said that Ashley would never do this to me, and that we could never understand the problems they were going through, and at this point, taking a vacation and abandoning Ashley and the baby was extremely uncalled for. However, when she said that I did not care about the baby, that was the last straw. I countered saying that my wife already has enough on her plate to deal with, and she doesn't need Brenda's toxic vibes right now. I asked her to leave our house and take her negativity with her. Am I the a-hole for behaving the way I did with Brenda? Edit. To everyone who has been asking, Brenda and Ashley are both fully aware of the miscarriage and were in fact in the hospital at the time. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Not at all. You took a stand for your wife. Your sister-in-law is being totally unreasonable and entitled and selfishly expecting you to watch their baby right after you suffered a miscarriage, and in refusing to even consider why taking care of a baby could be traumatizing for you too. They can hire a babysitter. Also, I'm really sorry for your loss, OP. Hugs. No, you don't get it. Only Ashley is allowed to have emotions. OP's wife should be grateful to still act as a parent/babysitter for a moment. This reminds me of when I had 3 kids under the age of 5. One who was a newborn. It was keeping my neighbor's 2-year-old to make some money. My husband's sister had 2 kids and wasn't handling this well, so her husband thought I should help her out, because he couldn't be bothered apparently. That discussion didn't go well. Not day hall. Brenda thinks that demanding free childcare from a woman who just suffered a miscarriage is reasonable. While it's admirable for Brenda to want to support Ashley through her PPD, she is completely lacking in empathy for your loss. You did the right thing for your wife. Brenda is the next abusive partner OP's sister has attracted. Likely narcissistic, coming by to enjoy OP's pain and throw oil on the fire. Not Dale OP. Best to go low contact or no contact. Brenda was way out of line. I'm sorry Ashley was going through PPD, but your wife's and your loss was equally as devastating as your sister's PPD. Perhaps even more so. Both you and Brenda were protecting your significant other, but Brenda was going about it by being a nahal. You, on the other hand, were not nahal. Not at all. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister make my son's birthday cake? My sister is an aspiring professional baker. She set up a Facebook business for it in 2018, and so far has not been able to build up much of a client/customer base. Part of the reason for this is she isn't the best decorator out there, and sometimes she's downright bad. Before setting up, back in 2017, she did taste and feedback tests with the family. She told us she wanted to know if/where she needed to improve and all that stuff. Cool. A couple of people told her she was great and that she should open her business because she'd be great. The rest of us, me, dad, older brother, younger sister, and my husband, all mentioned how she needed to lay off on the sugar a bit because holy freaking hell was she poisoning those cakes. And we mentioned she would need to refine her skills with the decorating side. She asked for specifics and we gave them. Especially on the kids' design because they were downright terrifying for kids. Tested on some of our kids. She didn't take it on board though, except for the sugar. She told us at the time we had overreacted to the designs and would see. My sister has 5 reviews on her profile. 3 of them are 1-star with the same feedback we gave about the appearance of the cakes. One woman had her 2-year-old cry when they saw the cake, and another had her 5-year-old say they were scared of it. The other one was more angry about it and did not hold back. The other 2 are 3-star reviews and say could have been a lot better. It frustrates my sister. She tries to grow but doesn't listen to feedbacks. My son is turning 8 this year, and it will be his first friend party due to circumstances. My sister asked if she could do the cake. I told her we had already ordered one, which is true. She was hurt I wouldn't go to her over another baker. She offered to cover the cancellation fee, and I turned her down. Then she got mad. Said how can she build her business if family won't even help her out and give her practice and a portfolio to build. I told her that she should start listening to the feedbacks she has received, instead of pressuring family to become guinea pigs for inventions. I also suggested she practice without getting an order, because it means she can provide a better quality product without using other people's money/celebrations to do it. She told me a good, not a prick, sister would give her the experience, and that it would mean so much more to my son to have a cake made by his loving aunt than some random baker. She has me feeling a bit bad because despite her telling me I'm a prick if I don't, I can see she's genuinely hurt we don't like her cakes enough to give her this. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister does not have a business. She has a Facebook pipe dream. After 4 years, she needs to face reality that she's not capable of baking for profit. I think that's kinda where my frustration stems. She could make it a profitable business/side business if she put in the work to grow and improve in her weak area, decorating. It has never felt like she has put that work in. She expects to grow as she works, but people don't want to pay for that. Your sister is trying to walk before she crawls. She needs to refine her skills. No one wants a cake from the one-star Facebook baker. Except me. I'm in bed and it's 3 a.m. Please bring me a cake from the one-star Facebook baker. Now. Not a hole. As much as I hate to say it, some people got it, some people don't got it. She seems to fit into the latter category. She apparently needs a lot more practice before she entertains her dreams of branching out into a successful business. It may hurt her feelings, but you gotta be honest at times. Too much negative feedback in early stages can downright cripple a fledgling business. She needs to be 100% confident in her work and have a portfolio of cakes/treats that she has made that she can provide on request. My wife takes photos of every cake she makes, even just to kill time, and is building up quite a collection of photos. I agree. If she practiced and learned how to strengthen her ability in the decorating area of cake making, she could be doing a lot better, but she needs to put in the work to learn. Not everyone has a magical skill right off the bat. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother and his wife out of my mother's funeral? I, female 31, lost my mother 3 weeks ago to cancer. It was devastating to say the least. I've already lost my dad and my older brother, and I was the only one to care for my mother, although I have a younger brother who now lives towns away with his wife and son. The issue started when my brother and his wife were struggling with rent. My mother agreed to let them move into my deceased brother's home under one condition, and that is to not throw away any furniture or try to make changes to the house since they were going to stay temporarily. My brother and wife agreed to this condition. But a month later, my mom started missing my deceased brother's stuff. His stuffs were thrown away. Furniture as well, and my brother's wife changed how the rooms look, claiming the decoration wasn't her style. My mom told them to stop, but my brother's wife got into an argument with her, and when my mom told them to leave, brother's wife spread rumors that my mom kicked her out when she was pregnant. No one knew, not even mom, and turned the family against me and mom. My brother and his wife cut contact. A few months later, my mom reached out, sent letters, and wanted to work it out. But my brother's wife blocked her and called her awful names. She later gave birth to a boy, and we didn't know till we saw a post on Facebook by coincidence. My mom was sick at the time, so she invited them. But sister-in-law refused to let my mom meet her grandbaby. Sent gifts, but were returned later. My mom was devastated knowing she won't see her grandbaby. I tried to talk to my brother, but I too was blocked. My mom passed. That was it. I stopped trying. It was too late. My mom left some fund for her grandbaby and told me to tell him about her when I get the chance. I was shocked to see my brother and his wife arriving to the funeral. I lost it when I saw them. My sister-in-law came to extend her condolences. I got into an argument with her and told them to leave. Sister-in-law said no hard feelings since I'm grieving, but I got mad. I kept yelling at them. My aunt told me to back down, but I insisted. They left, and others agreed with me. But my aunt berated me and said this behavior was disgraceful. She didn't expect this from me and said it was wrong. I feel horrible. My aunt spoke to my brother and she's been trying to get us to meet, but I keep saying no. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Not to be insensitive. They didn't honor her when she was alive, so why are they there to honor her when she's dead? Inheritance? Could also be to save face and try to keep the rest of the family on their side. Not a hole. OP, firstly, I am so sorry for what you are going through with losing your mom and having to deal with all this conflict. It is such a crappy position to be in. On the one hand, you have all your grief. Mom's passing, her cancer, and grieving the loss of your brother who is still alive. And the other is filled with your sister-in-law and brother hurting you even more. Your sister-in-law is out of line to say no hard feelings. To hell with her. She wants to be the hero who made amends. No, not now, not this time. You only have to deal with her when you feel ready. We had a similar conflict with my dad's passing and funeral. My mom and dad's younger brother got into a physical, I kid you not, fist fight at the funeral. Opie, speaking from experience and a lot of hurt, please make your mental health a priority now. Take time to breathe after losing your mom. Don't allow people, like your sister-in-law, to manipulate you now to do things you don't want to. Your mom's passing is a separate issue from your sister-in-law and her made-up drama. Don't let them use "this is what mom would have wanted" as leverage to get what they want. They cannot speak on her behalf. All the best, Opie. If you need someone to process this with, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I listen without judgment, as I've been where you are now. It's a horrible place. Not a hole. Your brother might be grieving, but he wasn't there for your mom while she was alive. It really hurt her and your family. Not a hole. I wouldn't be surprised if sister-in-law only came because she expected to get something. Nevertheless, I wouldn't even mention the money your mother left their son until he reaches 18. Then give it to him personally. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my cut of my dad's inheritance? We have a complicated history. My dad wasn't a bad guy, but wasn't necessarily a good guy either. He stepped out on his wife and hooked up with my mom once. She didn't have a clue he was married. Then I, 27 male, was born, but he had no idea. I think I was maybe 6 or 7 when she was able to track him down. So the cheating came out, and they almost divorced, but stayed together, and my dad wanted to be part of my life. He'd come around all the time, take me out, and help my mom with money. For a few years, my dad tried to include me in stuff he'd do with my half-siblings, but they didn't like me, so they bullied me a lot. I met his wife a few times, and she was just nasty and mean. So after that, he stopped trying and went back to us doing our separate thing. But when I was 14, he started pulling back with contact. I think because it was still causing problems in the marriage. And then he just stopped coming around by the time I was 15. We talked sometimes over the years. They got a divorce in the end, but he still never reached out even when I'd try. He died recently and left me a letter apologizing for how he was, and he was too ashamed to try working things out after being out of touch for so long. It also said he knows money can't make up for him not being there, but wants me to have it. I was speechless. He left a small portion for my half-sibs, but in his will, most of his money is to go to me. They're really not happy about it because they say he barely left them with anything, and they're owed that money for all the trouble this caused in their lives. But this money, it could really help with so much. Like actually finishing my degree, put a down payment on a decent house, and put the rest in a retirement fund or something. My half-siblings and even their mom are coming down hard, and won't stop with the messages because I'm not willing to split what's owed to them since they were his kids too. Don't even want to repeat what they say because it makes me feel horrible. I know they're still mad about the cheating and breaking up the family. This probably feel like another slap in the face to them. It's hard because, I want to use this money for my life. But I get that coming into their life as the affair child basically made it fall apart. So I can see why to them it feels like I owe them after everything. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You owe them literally nothing. Opie's dad knew what he was doing. He left them some money so they can't complain about it not being enough, unless they show their true colors by whining and being bratty. I don't think they're wrong to be pissed. Their dad cheats on their mom and ultimately they get divorced. And then the cheating dad leaves his inheritance to the kid conceived by dad? That must sting. Opie isn't an a-hole though. It's not their fault. I agree it probably would hurt. But they were financially supported their whole lives, where it sounds like dad only helped with the money for a few years with Opie. I wonder if dad helped the half-siblings with the university or other gifts later in life. This could just be Opie getting his share at the end. Not the a-hole. A will is the will. It's not your fault that he left you the amount he did, and he didn't give more to them. Not the a-hole. Your dad made the decision. The money's yours to do with what you want/wish. They are not entitled or owed anything by you. If anything, this is a karma thing, and the things they did that you probably don't know about is why things ended up the way that they are. Block, ignore, and move on. Sorry for your loss, and good luck. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for excluding my brother's kids from some family events? Context. I come from a large family, and it's considered really normal to help out or ask for help. And we often watch each other's kids, pick things up for each other, run errands, etc. I would describe us as laid back and generally low conflict. If people have an issue with something someone does, we usually address it with them privately so as not to embarrass them. The problem? One of my brothers is married to my sister-in-law, and they have kids, all under the age of 7. Sister-in-law has really specific ideas about parenting and what their kids should be allowed to do. She expects us to abide by her rules when her kids are at other family members' houses with the rest of the cousins. If the rules aren't followed, she doesn't say anything directly, but instead sends an email to the person with clear instructions on what they did wrong. The emails read like something from a boss. This happened a number of times over the years, but an event that happened last fall caused the current issues. During COVID, my mom has been babysitting the kids in our pod during the day and helping them with virtual school. Often there are 5+ kids there at a time. One of sister-in-law's rules is that her kids cannot have any food with dyes in it. No allergies, it is a general health thing. My mom forgot and gave one of her kids a popsicle during the day because everyone else was having one. The child was eating it when sister-in-law picked them up, and while she didn't say anything at the time, it was clear she was upset. My mom then received an email that began, Per our recent discussion, it was my understanding that you understood that child cannot have food with dyes in it. It then contained bullet points suggesting how she could improve. My mother was really insulted. In addition, sister-in-law carbon copied my dad. He went to their house to speak with them, and sister-in-law apologized for her communication style, but pushed back on the dye thing and wanted an apology from my mom. My mom apologized, but also no longer watches their kids regularly by her own choice. Ever since that happened, everyone is pretty cautious around them and their kids. If we are doing something that might violate her rules, we don't invite them. This is honestly most things we do because the stuff she bans, exposure to any form of violence, refined sugar, dyes, yelling, playground equipment above 5 feet, etc., are not things we have issues with, within reason, with our own kids. Recently, my brother asked me and my other siblings about it, and we were honest. We feel like we are walking on eggshells around them. He says she communicates about serious topics through email because of her anxiety disorder. He defends her behavior's mama bear tendencies and thinks we can slowly help her by being patient. We refused. Are we the a-holes for excluding my nieces/nephews? When we have big family get-togethers again, they will always be invited, but not always for other stuff. Edit. Also, just to say, my sister-in-law is often really fun/pleasant. It is really just a parenting issue that she is so controlling about. We never had issues with her before they had kids. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your brother-in-law is pulling a bait and switch. The issue is not her emails. The issue is her desire to control every single factor in her children's environment because of her anxiety. It's her responsibility to deal with her issues in therapy, and it's not your family's job to help her by being patient. Her husband should be encouraging her to get therapy instead of enabling her. If she has an issue with the food served, she should provide snacks for her children. If she has an issue with the style of play, she should find her own childcare instead of insisting everyone cater to her. Every word of this, she's essentially holding the rest of the family hostage. She's also setting her kids up to go absolutely berserk when they get older. It's well known that overly stifling kids usually leads to a commensurate level of rebellion in the teenage and college years. She may mean well, but she's doing real damage. Not the a-hole. People are entitled to raise their kids how they like, but cannot expect everyone to voluntarily make their lives annoying. Also, a lot of food dyes are natural. Cyanide is all natural too. Not the a-hole. Mama Anxiety Bear needs to go hibernate in cotton wool world because the way she's trying to shelter her kids is unrealistic and will backfire on her one day. I pity these children. Unless you find a coven of other like-minded parents, her kids are going to be incredibly lonely and isolated. Then, when they are finally allowed out into the real world, all hell is going to break loose. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for talking to my parents about getting a lock to keep my brother and his wife from going in my room without permission? So for a little context, I, 21 female, am still having to live at home with my parents due to COVID messing up my plans for moving out. My parents are happy to still have me at home, and I'm okay living with them till I can earn enough money to move out. One of my brothers, 26 male, and his wife, 26 female, tend to visit us a lot, which I don't mind. I enjoy seeing my brother. I love him very dearly. And his wife is a really sweet lady who we all get along with really well. However, my brother has a tendency to just walk into my room, whether I am in there or not. He did this before to pet our older cat, who tended to spend most of her time in my room. And I know he loved that cat, but I also did not appreciate him just barging in without warning. He stopped doing this for a while after our old cat passed away. She will forever be missed. But I recently got 2 new kittens from a rescue because I felt like I needed a new cat to help me heal from the loss of my old cat. It has been amazing, but now my brother's tendency of barging in has gotten worse than it was before. I have repeatedly asked him to not barge in, and that if he wants to enter my room, he needs to ask for permission first and respect my answer if I tell him no. He always says sure or okay, but it is clearly in a very dismissive way. His wife will always follow him after getting an ice cream bar from our freezer and just sit on my bed with him eating. It has been 6 months of this routine by now, and I am sick of it. My room is my space to be on my own and recharge and for privacy, and they continually disrespect that. I got fed up this weekend when I was trying to get ready for a date with my boyfriend, and they just barged into my room to pet the kittens who were in there with me. I asked him to please leave and that I was trying to get ready, and he said that since I'm putting makeup on in the bathroom, why don't I just change in there too? And that he wants to pet the kittens. I gave up, got ready in the bathroom, and once I got home, I talked to my mother about getting a lock or something to put on my door so that they won't just go in, sit on my bed, and eat without my permission anymore. My brother heard about this because my dad, bless his heart, but he is oblivious sometimes, saw no issue saying we were going out to look for a lock when brother asked if we were home. Brother's now saying I'm just overreacting, that I have the kittens in there a lot of the time. They hate being away from me, so they usually follow me in there to sit on my bed and watch me as I'm doing anything in there. And he just wants to pet them. He says I'm being cruel to him and the kittens by not letting him in to pet them whenever he wants, and by apparently depriving the kittens of attention and interactions with people. I am just so sick of him and his wife barging in. But now I am starting to wonder, am I overreacting over this by looking at getting a lock to keep them out? Also, the sister-in-law never is the one who barges in. She usually just follows after brother a few minutes after he barges in himself. Edit. So someone pointed out in the comment that I should add this bit of info. When I am not there, I keep my door cracked open enough for the kittens to enter and leave the room as much as they want. And usually they go hang out with my parents and only go in my room if they need a litter box or a bite of food. I would never dream of forcing my kittens to stay cooped up in my room all alone when I'm not home. And most of the day, I also have my door cracked open for them as well, so that they can come and go as they please. Not they-hole. You would not need it if just asked permission. He is a huge jerk. It does not matter if the kittens are there or not. It's your room. Put the lock, but also install a little cat door so they can enter and out whenever they want. Edit. Hopefully OP sees this so the kitties can go in and out whenever they want. I have 2 cats and there's nothing they hate more than a closed door. Not they-hole. If your brother is so upset about not being able to pet some kittens, he can actually go adopt some himself. Kitten season is here, I believe, and there will always be cats flooding into shelters that could use homes. Why doesn't he go get some fur babies for himself he can pet at home? You deserve your privacy, OP. Hope you get that lock and you're able to have it after all this. Also, I'm sure those kittens aren't deprived of social attention and affection. Your brother's just wanting to be an a-hole. He has an older adopted cat he got about a month ago. Fat orange boy named Ferd who is super loving and sweet. And he loves that big guy. But I think he misses having playful cats about. I think he's also worried that, since he lives in a trailer at the moment out on a farm, any kittens would not survive out there.